everybody, and welcome to the weekly Wrestle Buddy podcast. It is myself, Jimmy Bebe, the Drip King of Wrestling, taking over hosting duties this week as our good buddy Andy is still out on vacation doing what
Love you, Andy.
do. I am joined today by Wrestle Buddy Quiz Master Maddie and Tyler. How you guys doing?
Doing great.
I'm doing wonderful. It is a wonderful triple threat that we got here today.
Okay, so we were joined by Zane, and then this was the last visual we got of him, as him showing his guns. They were going this way, not that way, so I kicked him out. I didn't want nothing.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan ate your heart out with those pythons.
I had to get rid of him. That was too much for me. I can't be distracted during the show. So
Love you, Zane.
Real quick. Got no definitive word on what's going on. They're all yeah. There's a lot of speculation, and that's how I'm going to tackle it. I'm not tackling none of this stuff as fact, David. I don't do that. Hey, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Where are my guns? Non-existent. That's where they're at. Your boy, Flavor Flav.
I love
How are
that.
you? We are doing good. How are you doing? Awesome. I believe that's if I butcher that, I apologize, man. I apologize.
You did better than me.
Lost the bet immediately. We all lost. Yeah, you all lost. I'm gonna say I bet he doesn't even make the show. So technically, I win this bet if there was one, but that's all there is to it.
So all money will go to
I was
Cash
back.
App $ Matty Laws.
So we're gonna just jump right into things. Topic number one. As you saw, can AEW Rebound? This is the title of this week's podcast. Every topic this week is about AEW. It's, as I said on my show, the Dynamite recap, I just think the timing of everything is just so unfortunate for AEW. And I know we touched a lot on the CM Punk stuff last week. We're going to start this week off with it again. CM Punk versus John Moxley. The biggest match in AEW history happened on Dynamite this week. And before we jump into it too much, I just want your one-word responses to the match itself. Maddie, you go first.
Minutes.
Tyler.
Terrible.
I'm going to use two words because I'm a cheat here. Flippin' dumbfounded. I want to say there's more to it. But at the same time, with all the stuff circulating and all the drama that's being rumored, this is another good one. Unexpected. And this is another one. I don't
That's a
even
good
know
one,
if it's
David.
for laugh.
That's a good one.
Laugh. It's another good one. I don't know if it was intended for, but it works.
How?
I'm kind of speechless still to this day. We're 4 or 5 days later. I'm still speechless.
So I got to this match on a lunch break after work.
We're gonna try and bring this guy back in. It's John Moxley.
That's not Moxley. Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's not how you put it.
One word response to the match before you get kicked out again, Zane.
Loved it, absolutely loved it. I think that was the best way to go about it.
Goodbye.
So I got to this match on a lunch break. I was able to clock out, get my food, drive to my house, sit down, enjoy my food, and watch this match, and drive back to work with 10 minutes to spare.
I'm going to stop you real quick. You said enjoy this match. Did you enjoy this match?
Hell no.
Okay, then.
I was about to say
I enjoyed my food. I enjoyed my food. The match I enjoy unpredictability in wrestling. Unpredictability is good. Whenever you put your world title match at the top of the hour and it only goes 3.5 minutes from bell to bell, what are we doing here?
So what's crazy is when the match started, I saw people like, why would you put this at the top of the hour? And I was trying to make sense of it. I was like, well, there's an hour time limit. You want to give the sense of, hey, this could go an hour. You want to keep the viewers in on that hour because the second hour, sometimes you see dips on Raw. Third hour, you see dips. So start off with something hot, keep the viewers there. And I was like, okay, this makes sense. But then we got what we got, and I was like, it completely took me out of the rest of the show, honestly. I don't know if that's just because I'm a Punk fan or because I had such high expectations for this match.
Jimmy, the main event is a match that I would be so into. I was so taken out of it from that match. Like I was sitting there and I was just scrolling through Twitter. Like, yeah, that's Aussie Open is on American TV. I love Aussie Open.
Yeah.
I could not give a fuck after that CM Punk John Moxley match.
So I'll go to you, Tyler. Do you think this was the plan all along to do the match this way upon Punk's return?
If it was, it would have been brilliant, but he was definitely injured. I just don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's a good question because I saw another angle where they said maybe Punk grabbed the other leg. So this was go ahead.
I can clarify that one for you quick. Everyone says he was selling the wrong foot because he kicked with his right and he grabbed his left. He originally broke his left foot. The left foot was planted. The left foot torqued. He grabbed his left foot. He sold the right foot and everything. I think people just grasped to something that they wanted to so that they could be like, look at Punk being stupid again, because that's what they like to do.
If you know MMA in any way, shape, or form, or no broken feet.
Okay. Well, and that's my fault. I don't get to watch enough MMA, but that was smart on his behalf to sell the other leg. He was definitely hurt because that's why the finish, but it made Moxley come out looking great because he was dominant. Just unfortunately for Punk, it was not a good result. And the memes for Cleveland, he's just always had somebody's apparently not a fan of Aussie Open, and I'm going to agree, Matt.
I like Aussie Open Tuesday, so you can shut up.
So before we go any further, I'm going to start a chant, and I'm going to need Courtney, David, and the rest to finish this off. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.
No. Forget Aussie Open. But no, just a quick point. The match, if you wanted that squash match surprise, this would have been great. And I think in some ways it did work. But to me, I don't know. I try to find the positive and negative here, but the positive would be if it was a work. The negatives were, as you all talked about, this was just a cluster, man. And I don't know. Where do we go from here? Like you said, Jimmy, we're going to have to wait till the Dynamite Go Home edition to find out because it's in Chicago. So already everybody's speculating it's going to be maybe a rematch. But I don't know. With that injury, it doesn't look good.
Okay, and then you brought that up, so I'll get you guys' opinion on this. If they were to go the route of a rematch between CM Punk and John Moxley, thumbs up, thumbs down, what is your idea on that? Like, because to me, that's if I had more hands, I wish I had 5 hands so I could give this match, this idea, 5 thumbs down. Because if the man was so injured he couldn't finish a match, how is he going to be able to recover in 2 weeks to give Moxley a better match? It doesn't make sense. So just your opinion on it as well, because to me that just doesn't make it. It's almost as confusing as the match itself.
Yeah, it feels rushed.
Mm-hmm.
But my only thing is, I would hope fantasy booking MJF would come out, have Punk tease it, and then have MJF just spoil it, come out and challenge Moxley. That would be something I think you get a huge reaction. But unfortunately, we'll get into it with AEW's issues. Yeah. Who knows anymore? And with those negotiations. But I think that would be something logical. But I'm with you. Thumbs down. It's not going to help Punk recover. I think this was Tony Khan's plea. He saw the ratings dipping. He needed that star. And unfortunately, Punk agreed, thinking he was ready, having that old school wrestling mentality to fight through the pain. And unfortunately, the result is what we got from last week.
Yeah. So, Maddie, I'll ask you. I don't know if you watched my Dynamite recap. I have this theory.
Yes, I did.
You saw the sadness to me.
I saw pain.
I'm very curious because you yourself are saying you love Aussie Open. I know you like Will Ospreay. The match, the main event, is suited for a fan like you, and even you couldn't get into it. If that match, if you swap the Mox Punk match with the Aussie Open the Aussie Open Death Triangle match, do you think the show doesn't come across as such? It's just a letdown.
This is an absolutely shameless plug to your Dynamite recap.
I will do it every time
because Jimmy switched the main event and the Moxley Punk segment, and he gave the Moxley promo at the end. If you would have had that be the ending segment as opposed to Kip Sabian attacking Pac, it would have made so much more sense in the flow of the show. I would have been more invested in that 6-man match. But even then, like, the show would have just like fell flat unless that promo didn't hit like it did.
And I think the promo itself would have hit so much harder in the ring as Punk
if he squashed him and then did that.
The ring. He's like, "You ain't the best in the world. This is my time." And he's doing it with such fire and passion. It was like, "Yo, I feel this." It would have been so much better with the energy of the crowd behind it and that sad just look that Punk gave. Like, I'm done. I'm finished. Like, but I won't dive too much into it because I've been talking about it all weekend. And
if we are still on that, like you said, the possibility of a rematch, me and Brandon have to try to actually commentate that as a heel and a face. I don't know how I could try to portray that as a face commentator when we already know going into this, Punk's hurt and should not be in that ring right now.
And just to touch on the Punk injury, I'm almost convinced it's a work. He's not really he didn't really re-injure himself, and this is why we saw a short clip.
Definitely not re-injured, but
not re-injured. I don't think he's injured at all. I think it's part of a story. I don't know where the story's going, so I guess that's not a terrible thing. I like to be surprised, but it didn't reveal anything on Rampage. It was like a bait and switch, as our good buddy Dale likes to point out. But yeah, they didn't show anything. So again, I'm not sure where they go. And like he said, if this isn't where to go, come on, if this isn't fixed and cleared up by Wednesday, it's just a cluster. And as I told you guys before, what they do this week depends on how I'm going to be watching this show. Like, I want to watch it, and I want to watch it. Like, I'll go out and spend the extra money to go watch it in a movie theater, but I'm not going to do it if they can't fix the main event scene, which is the thing that's supposed to sell it.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's go. Zane actually bringing up good points here. Rematch only if Punk's turning heel, but if Punk, that part, we'll skip that part. If Punk is not doing the rematch, who else can challenge Mox? But also to add to that, Mox can't lose after that match. And I agree with this 100%. He looks literally invincible. I won't say he looks as invincible as Roman Reigns does right now, but I think that match right there
it helped get him over. Yeah.
It helped put him up so many notches. What's crazy about that is that he was already, in my opinion, Wrestler of the Year, and you just made him look even stronger with that match. They need to capitalize on it, but who do you put in the position in this match? It almost seems like AEW's kind of booked.
They would have to. They'd kind of have to pull from outside sources, wouldn't they? Because they don't have an established top level heel.
That's
to go
the
up
issue
against Moxley like that. Okay. Let alone they would have to put something else in the main event, because if we don't have an established, that's just going to be a throwaway main event.
Okay, so just off the top of your head, because we have the card pretty much for All Out. If you're taking someone from the roster and putting them against Mox at All Out, not even putting him against him, you're feeding him to Jon Moxley at All Out. Who do you pick?
That's a great question. I'm gonna have to think about it a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think there is a person that you can do. Honestly, that's the problem.
In terms of, I guess it could work. Hangman Page.
I was going to do that for Rib. I was actually thinking of him, just with the whole Punk situation backstage. Just go ahead, yeah.
And they could have a good match. Moxley could win. Both guys could go in, because Moxley can play that intense tweener, and get the crowd a little bit behind Page again.
Question. I don't know if you were following it back then, Tyler. I'm still figuring it out, bud. So I'll just ask.
Oh, that's okay.
We had the tournament last year to determine who was going to be Hangman Page's first challenger. Obviously, Mox destroyed in the first round, but then he had to step out. He went to rehab, and he was taken out of the tournament. Do you think Mox was supposed to win that tournament and be Hangman Page's first opponent? And if so, I actually like the idea of putting Hangman Page in this spot, because it gets us back to that spot we needed to begin with.
No, I don't believe that to be the case. I think they had to change plans, and of course, due to injuries and everything. And I don't know. I'm not a big fan of just Hangman's personality. I think he's got talent in the ring, but he's coming off very immature lately. And I think that's why with that championship run, that's why it didn't go anywhere, because he didn't want to listen to anybody with experience.
I want to say his reign didn't go anywhere because they had to change plans and they didn't really have a backup plan, which is why I think if they put him in this match, it brings us full circle. But also, as David points out here, I'll get to you in a second, Maddie, sorry.
No worries.
Every other guy is tied up in storylines at the moment. Hangman likely is taking 10 spot in the trios because of the whole Elites storyline.
I saw that, and I didn't even think about that because I forgot 10 got hurt.
That's my only pushback on Hangman taking the spot.
And that's fair.
What up, Nick?
If the Elite are to go on to the end, and it's Dark Order versus the Elite, which is more than likely going to be the end, that frees up Will Ospreay for that Sunday. Will Ospreay has the elevation. He's got that top level heel heat.
But then what you have to do is I'll cut you off because you have to have him lose the match on Dynamite and then also build up the match in one night because you have All Out next weekend.
You could have him attack Mox during a promo.
And that'd be a hard set, and it would make me be like, all right, Alex, I'll help you because I'm not going to watch it this year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not.
Yeah, it just comes out of nowhere.
I just don't think it. Like, why would I care? And Eddie Kingston versus Mox. You know what? No, and we'll get to that in a minute.
I wouldn't be against it.
I would. Yeah.
There was one where Zayn said Bautista. Go ahead. Let Bautista go out to the ring drunk like he did last time and just get.
But other than those two names, I cannot think of anyone else. They would have to pull from outside sources.
Right now, other than Punk, there is no one you can feed. Mox, Hangman is going to be in. Yeah, exactly. So, and if you put Punk in this match, how likely is he to win? And what's the believability of it after what we just saw?
Yeah, you don't want to bury him right off the bat.
Again.
Yeah. Well, that's true. And that's the whole problem. I'll tell you somebody who I see as a future champion, and we've seen them as tag team champions currently. I watched that Jay Lethal, Dax Harwood match, and not only are they one of the greatest tag teams, that is one of the better matches I've seen, bar none. I don't care if it's WWE or not. Those guys were hitting. They were telling a story. The spots made sense. It wasn't just flipping off the ropes because we can get a cheap pop. These guys were articulating how wrestling's meant to be. That's why I can appreciate them and come at it from that mentality. I respect it.
Love both men. It was my favorite part of Dynamite, that match itself. The only problem I want to see one of them in the match simply for the fact that every time they're in a singles match, they already lose. So it's like, bro.
Well, and that's always been the problem. It's like every time FTR gets momentum or somebody to that level, even Jay Lethal, it's like, what are we doing booking-wise? Some of the storylines we've discussed are not making sense. It's like there's bipolar booking. It's like that's why nobody can follow it. So it's hard for even casual fans.
And Zane, we'll get to this one when we get to that subject of the all-out build. We'll touch on the main event here. And then here's the theory. Punk goes all fighter spirit, wants to fight again, gets his ass handed again. That's his issue. He can't stay down, leads to a heel turn. Man, I don't know if you can do that same match twice in a row, but I'm going to end it there. We're going to move on to the next part because we've already hit up 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm going to do every time Punk's the topic of this subject of discussion. But from one controversy to another one, Sammy and Eddie backstage drama.
Beat that ass, Eddie.
I'm going to ask before we even touch on it. I've seen a lot of people like, work. Do you think this is all work, or do you think this is legit?
Eddie Kingston's the type of person that probably get heated off of being called fat, especially in front of national crowd, national TV, not knowing that it's going to be, edited. Because even Guevara was like, I expect it to be edited. So
I want to touch on that real quick too. You can keep going, but I have something for that.
But if you already communicate with the talent, hey, don't say this. All right, cool. I won't say it. If you don't communicate that, that's another thing. But I don't know. Sammy just seems like a prick. I know you've had a good experience with him, Jimmy. You and your family have. I don't know. the thought of Sami Zayn or Sammy Guevara saying Kingston's fat, going backstage, Kingston waiting for him and going, "So you're gonna say that to my face?" And then that whole exploding. I just live to see that. I would love to be a fly on the wall in that situation.
You're getting worked, Maddie. Says.
Oh, I know.
We'll get that part too. Tyler, what about you? Do you think this will work, or do you think there's actual backstage heat here?
I'm with Maddie. I think with knowing Eddie Kingston, that New York personality, he got tired of Sammy Guevara's immaturity. I'll tell you, I respect Sammy for being an innovator, and he may be a nice guy to fans, but this is different when you're, with your people you work with, and to say that and not expect a receipt, that's the old school way of doing it. You'd see that with Bill Watts. Knock him out, man. I'm getting work too. Hey, that's great. Well, finally, a storyline that's making sense.
Get that too sweet going. We're getting work together, brother.
Hey, we are. Hey, if we are, that's great. We need more of it. So I hope I am, but I'm not. I don't doubt it.
As David pointed out, 2 employees in a company getting a spat over her talent roster. It happens in the company. It happens everywhere. You work with people, you're going to get mad at them. I've seen nothing but people taking Eddie Kingston's side on this, which is mind-blowing to me, because I'm going to say the piece that Sammy Guevara released, The Fightful. And once I read this, I was like, you know what? Eddie is completely in the wrong here. I want you guys, I don't know if you've heard this or read this or not. I want you to give me your opinion, if you haven't, after I read this. And you're on Sammy's side here. Sammy says, as a professional, you communicate things that you don't want to be said, like other people I've been in programs with and have worked with. He's worked with Matt, he's worked with Jericho, and that's how they've operated. If you don't want things being said, you got to let it be known so I don't cross those boundaries. And I did communicate of what I didn't want to be said in the angle, and Eddie didn't say anything. But Eddie did not do the same. So Eddie didn't do the same, and Eddie did not mention to me or the coaches or Tony Khan or anybody in any AEW that he didn't want something said. So after Tay and his match with Sky Blue and Dante, I cut a promo on Eddie, insulting Eddie and the fans as well. We all heard it, you fat POS. Which I know the thing everyone loves to do is hate me and Tay. So I'm the perfect person to play this asshole character for Eddie to ultimately beat it all out, which he's 100% right there. He's playing to the character because we all, like, most people want to see him get his butt whooped anyway. Mm-hmm. So if he can add to that with a character like Eddie, who is just beloved by everybody, do it. It works. It's going
and it's
to
the believable money. Brawler.
It's a money match.
Right.
So I see what people say online about Eddie and his appearance, which we all do almost daily. People just talk about Eddie and his appearance because people love to talk about wrestlers' appearances.
People just like to talk shit on Twitter.
Yes. Which anyone who legitimately shames Eddie for how he looks can go to hell. It's the same people who shame me for being too small. So he's like defending Eddie.
He does have a point. He does have a point there.
So Sammy, the character, I could be the physical person playing the IWC that we want to see get knocked out. And then Eddie can be the person that shuts me up at all out. So he communicated with Eddie. Eddie didn't say anything, so he went with it. And then Eddie got his feelings hurt and then goes backstage and tries to swing on him. In this situation, I find it so incredibly hard to believe anybody's on Eddie's side.
Well,
people don't like Sammy.
So if you also saw Eddie Kingston post on his Twitter, Instagram, and everything else, he even said, I know I was in the wrong, and he was like, I was totally unprofessional for touching another man's face, meaning that Eddie Kingston admitted to hitting Sammy in the face.
Yes.
I genuinely hope that both of these men have actually come to terms and, gotten over their little beef, because this ruined a storyline that would have been fun. This would have been a whole hell of a lot of fun. And I kind of hope we still get the impromptu match at All Out, because
probably not. No.
Yeah, probably not, because the way Sammy worded that was very well. He worded that very eloquent.
And to also touch on, like, I've always stuck up for Sammy because, like I said, I met him. He was fantastic. I know I'm a fan. He's going to treat me differently, but he still had that arrogance to him when we met him. Like, you still feel like he's just an arrogant person. I won't say POS because the way he treated me and my son, I can't call him a piece of shit. I just can't. What he did,
which is understandable.
Yeah, which years ago what he did, unforgivable. It is. I don't want to say unforgivable. You grow and you learn, and as long as he's not continuing to go down that path, I'm not going to do anything.
Now, I would say that's where most of my beef with him comes from. It
was a very ignorant comment to make.
I still haven't forgiven him.
I think people are attached to that comment when going at this subject as well, and that's why everyone's like, yeah, Eddie punches lights out, and it's like, what do you mean? Like,
I do understand that people grow and they change over time. That still just left a sour mouth on me as him as a person.
If it happens and Allah walks on fly, Eddie is just too damn touchy for his own good. And yes, I agree with what he is saying right here. I think Eddie is just a very touchy and emotional person. He reacts.
And it comes off on TV as well.
Exactly. I think that's why people connect with him so much, because he's a very emotional guy. But in a situation like this, I think
gotta tone it back a little
bit. It makes you kind of look like the bitch here. That's me though.
I agree. You got to tone it back. You have to tone it back. You definitely got to tone it back.
Just let him fight.
Here's Eddie Kingston's biggest fan. Kingston was called fat all the time on the Indies. He even acknowledged it in a documentary on him. He ain't gonna punch Sammy's dad's.
Jesus.
Wow.
It is crazy to think that this would be the first time Eddie heard this and was like, you know what? I'm not gonna take it. It is a very blurry, I think, situation. It definitely could be a work to help sell the match when it does happen, but we will see.
I think everybody's just too sensitive. I mean, just let them hash it out and get over it. I mean, I guess I'm coming in here with some heat. I get tired of this crap. I'm like, back then, man, people settled their differences in the locker room. Just get over it. Roll you a pair of pants or whatever you need to do, and get on with it. I don't care about your opinions. You gotta just. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm just coming at it differently.
It's your opinion. You're not wrong, man. And I'll touch on this one last part before we go to the next subject. I think it's interesting. We started off with, last week we talked about Punk and Hangman, and everybody's mad at Punk because he retaliated to something he thought Hangman did that was unacceptable. This week we have Eddie Kingston retaliating on Sammy Guevara, who he thought he was being treated unjustly or whatever, and people are now on Eddie Kingston's side. So you have two very similar situations and people taking two very different sides here.
But if you notice, a lot of the people were going after Punk. They were going after him because he's the ex-WWE guy.
And also because he's just the easy target, much like Sammy Guevara here. Again, two very similar situations. It's like, let's just go on the guy we already hate.
Yeah, I'm not taking any sides. I say book it. Just make them punch each other. Their lights out. Make it a bad boxing match from the 80s. Who cares? Let's go with it.
My girl says we got old JR here.
That's funny.
In a very loving way, though. In a very loving way. She loves JR. So that's
now. What's that, Excalibur? What's that move again?
That is the Kata
Wednesday Night Raw.
Dynamite and Rougeau. There you go.
Tyler coming in with everybody too sensitive.
You said it, Zane.
Shut up, Zane. Get out of here. I'm not putting any more of your comments up. You're going to be a dick about it. So, any more to say about the Sammy Eddie, or do we just want to see them fight and get it over with?
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Just let them settle the score. Yeah.
Give them a street fight, but dear God, let no scaffolding be involved.
Okay, so
we're not going to go NWA with it and do the midnight and El Captain. I'm thinking of him. Doing that.
So we'll go to the next one. I didn't see anything about this. I'm just going off the notes we got here. I did see a situation with Thunder Rosa, but I guess there's rumors of backstage heat with Thunder Rosa. What I saw is that Jamie Hayter was chasing her backstage because she thought she wasn't happy that Thunder Rosa broke her nose. Thunder Rosa went and hid in a bathroom. Kind of. It's kind of funny, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know if I can believe this just because Thunder Rosa, she's supposed to be a badass. She's trained in MMA. Jimmy Hayter ain't that intimidating to me, so I'm not sure if that's something I want to believe in. But as far as the backstage heat, if y'all know anything and can fill me in, feel free.
I've heard of the backstage heat since the Evilise issue way back during the pandemic.
Okay.
There was also issues with her sandbagging Mercedes Martinez and other stuff like that. But
that was true. I don't agree with it. That definitely was true.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's been shown on film that she doesn't have the best chemistry with the other women on the roster. But the story of her hiding in a bathroom to hide from Jamie Hayter, that is the most ridiculous high school bullshit I've ever heard.
It's crazy. It's ludicrous. Can anybody grow up in wrestling anymore? It drives me nuts. Yeah.
These are adults. You're meaning to tell me that I expect a 30-plus-year-old to be chilling in a bathroom because she's scared of another 20-something-year-old? That doesn't make sense.
No, that doesn't.
Not at all.
Make sense to me. And I think some of this ties into the Britt Baker stuff, because I've heard that Thunder and Britt have beef with each other, and they've had some for some time. And since Hayter is Britt's, sidekick, that's I don't know. It just seems very weird that just story after story after story is piling on to make the AEW backstage look so just like a complete shit show.
They could write a movie
of the 3 stories we've just touched on. This is the one that I'm just like, come on, man.
Yeah, this
I want
can't be real
because it doesn't make sense.
And the thing that doesn't make the most sense to me about that, yeah, I would understand if Jamie Hayter's upset Thunder Rosa broke her nose. If you went back and watched the spot, it was a brain buster where Thunder Rosa's knee kind of hit Hayter in the nose.
Okay.
It was a complete accident.
Yeah.
So there's no way that Hayter's like, you did that on purpose.
Do we know how old Hayter is?
I don't know.
Do not, but I'm pretty sure she's in her mid to late 20s.
She's very young. To me, she seemed like she was a very young, like 24, 25 area.
And
so...
And Rosa and Britt have the best chemistry out of anyone that Rosa has with. That you're not telling me that her and Britt Baker have this unsettled heat backstage that
so David here is confirming, like he's not the kind of guy that's gonna talk on speculations, because he got us in the beginning of the show. He's like, it's all we're tackling stuff with speculation. So if he's saying there's confirmed legit heat with Britt and Hayter, there has to be something to it.
But between Britt and Hayter themselves, or both of those towards
with Thunder Rosa with Britt and Hayter? I think that's what he's trying to get at here.
I can maybe see it with Hayter because they didn't have the best chemistry. They didn't work too well in the ring.
Hiding in the bathroom is not confirmed, and I don't think you'll ever get that confirmed. Because I don't think it's true. But
who put out that report that she was hiding in a bathroom?
I'm not sure, but that's what creates all this mess. Is some of these sources go, oh, she's hiding in the bathroom. You're right. It's like high school. What are we doing? Going back in time or something? That's what drives me crazy. Personal issues work, man.
No,
Who cares if they got heat? Let them, just like Hinks and Guevara. When Thunder Rosa comes back, let them go at it. Just let them brawl.
This easily could have been a situation where like Hayter approached Thunder Rosa apologized, and then she went to the bathroom, and then someone saw it and was like, "Oh, running from Jamie Hayter, she's hiding in the bathroom." Like there's just some nonsense.
It's fabricated.
Anyone working with Thunder and Mission Pro speaks highly of her.
Exactly. And anybody that's worked for that promotion has said that Rosa's one of the most giving people.
I don't have anything against Thunder. I didn't like the fact that she sandbagged. Who was it? It wasn't Mercedes. It was
Was it the Evil East one?
Who's tagging with? I forgot her name. It's Roderick Strong's wife.
Marina Shafir.
Yeah,
she was definitely sandbagging Shafir.
And Shafir was muscling her.
Well, yeah, and that's, to me, I don't know. It just doesn't seem cool. But other than that, she can't go to promo, but that has nothing to do with her person.
And speaking of promos, she dropped the belt this week, making that fatal 4-way. It made little to no sense because is she legit hurt? Is there?
Apparently she does have some problems with discs in her back.
Okay,
and she's just fighting through it, so it is legit. I do think they need to stop with the interim title shit, though. It
gets annoying.
It's tired. Third time this year we had an interim champion.
Vacate it, get a new champion, because you can.
They're going to have an interim Mid-Atlantic championship.
They probably will. You're not wrong, Tyler.
That's what gets on my nerves, man.
We already have the All-Atlantic.
Championships mean something. Gosh almighty. Am I getting grumpy or something? I'm only 35, gentlemen. I've had my coffee this morning, and I'm just getting tired of this crap. Come on. You didn't see this maybe in Mid-South. Okay, too much Cornette. I'll back off.
You're good. You're good.
I love it. I love the Southern Fire.
So next up, the build to All Out. or as some people are saying, the lack thereof. I don't want to say that the build has been terrible, like most people are saying, because I think they've built the Jungle Boy Christian match very well. I think it's a great story they're telling with that one. I'm all for it. The Starks Hobbs one, I think, could have had a little bit more to it, but I'm not going to complain because they did give us something, and it wasn't like, okay, here it is 1 week, the show is this weekend, we just tried to force it on. It's built up over the past month. I can deal with that one.
But then we get matches like Swerve in Our Glory versus the Acclaimed.
Yes,
that makes no sense.
We have
FTR. That's the problem.
We have FTR team up with Wardlow to take on Jay Lethal and the Machine.
Give me Jay Lethal versus Wardlow and Motor City Machine Guns versus FTR.
You're actually thinking this time. Thank God.
I like Jay Lethal, but don't do that again because we saw it on Rampage 2 weeks ago. So
I don't care.
There's no real reason to have Jay Lethal still in a program with Wardlow, especially if this is the road you're taking to do it, because it doesn't make sense. You're devaluing your TNT championship, which
more than they already have.
They're botching it a little bit now. Yeah.
I tried to defend it. I really did. But at this point, it's like, no, you're right back to the same crap you were doing with Sammy Guevara and Scorpio Sky. It's like hot potato with it. This is just as bad.
And that was what, only 4 months ago, Jim?
It's not important. Then you have the trios tournament ending at the pay-per-view, which I'm not going to knock that. It is another tournament that they do. And I'm sure they'll have another tournament after that. But I'm not going to shit on that. But those 3 matches, I think, are the only ones where I'm like, okay, they belong on this pay-per-view. I'm sure they're going to add Malachi and the House of Black in some way, shape, or form into a Sting Darby match, and Miro. You'll probably get a 6-man there, which
that'll probably be on the kickoff buy-in.
It could have been built so much better. And I get the women's match. I'll go ahead and give them a pass on the women's match. Injuries happen. You got to do what you can. And I'm not mad at this match because I honestly don't know who comes out winning it. I don't think Sheeta wins it, but I think the other 3 have a realistic chance of doing so.
That's been the problem. It's just so much of this. Thanks, Amanda. So getting some love here. My goodness, how old are you? No, I'm just
Tyler continues.
But a lot of storylines that don't make sense, that are just all over the place. I can't help it, fellas. You're bringing up some great points, but I need what is that drink JR drinks? Brown Mule or something? Maybe I need one of those. I don't know.
They have to hard pivot for the TNT title for sure.
And I have to call this with Brandon on Sunday. Like there's little to nothing that I can really grab at.
I think there are matches you can.
There are matches.
I think they've had worse built pay-per-views, if I'm being 100% honest here. I really do think they've had worse. But, and Amanda says he definitely goes to tutors. She loves JR. She knows all about him.
Oh, cool.
JR loves tutors.
There you go.
Let's see. Malachi deal with pretty bad back at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys heard about that. So
I can, but they got Miro involved in this, so it has to be a 6-man.
And then give Malachi his time off.
Yeah, you've got to hide Sting because they've used him pretty well. That is one thing I will say with
fantastic.
Tony Khan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here, and this is all I've been seeing from everybody. I got a buddy Rich on my timeline too, who's been wanting this match right here, Motor City Machine Guns versus FTR for months. He's been wanting this match for months. Technically, they're getting it, but why not just do this match?
Make it for the Ring of Honor tag titles too, if you want to make those important.
They have 3 sets of titles. Make it for one of them. Like, why not? Like, this is.
There's too many titles. That's why they're not being significant anymore.
So based on what we just said, there's 3 6-man matches. That's
mind-boggling.
Yeah, I really want to love you, AEW. I truly, truly, truly do, but you can't give me stuff like that.
And I hate to sound like Jimmy on a Wednesday, but this really feels like half of this show was booked by the Bucks.
You think so? I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, is Don Callis running booking now? I mean, come on.
Okay, so Okay, could be. And if that's the goal with it, okay, but still, why not just do it all out? Honestly, like the rest of the show hasn't been built perfectly, so why not just throw this one on? At least people will be like, you know what? There's no build to it, but this match is gonna fucking slap. I'm all for it. Why give a tease for it and then put it on your Ring of Honor show? I don't. It doesn't make sense to me. Let's see. Acclaim to take the tag belts. What do you guys think the odds are for this? Since this match was just randomly thrown together.
Everybody loves the Acclaimed. At least that's what they say.
If you don't, bro, we got issues.
Hey, I don't have any issues with them.
Okay, we're good.
But off of sheer popularity, do you see Tony Khan throwing the belts on them?
Yes.
Because that's what I'm seeing off of this. Because they have not done a damn thing with Keith and Swerve.
The Acclaim should have got the tag titles like months ago.
But if they didn't, or if they did, they would not have had this build that they've slowly been having that has been getting them to this peak.
I'll have to stop. What build though? Because there's no build.
Hey, if it not necessarily the build, but the organic the organic build, but with the crowd that they've had.
But I feel like they've had it forever though. That's my thing is like they really have been one. I'll go ahead and say it. Other than FTR, they claimed the most popular over tag team in AEW. And yes, that includes the Young Bucks. Kiss my butt. I don't care.
Oh no, dude, they're way more over than the Bucks. You can tell that in their like 4-way tag matches.
And it's been this way for at least a year now. So to just not do it earlier this year when they were hot, they were the number one team, and it made sense, and just to randomly do it now, dumb.
Just don't make sense.
And you got a good point, because now we have two face tag teams going against each other, because the Acclaimed have effectively turned face now.
Boo this woman.
They're entertaining, but I'm with you. I think they blew their opportunity to give them the belts. And does AEW know a build anyways? Yeah. I mean, that's my problem too. Can they build anything that's...
And the whole tag team, they won the titles, and prior to them winning the titles, Swerve and Keith, they teased a split up. And they haven't really teased it since. So it wouldn't shock me one bit if tonight or on All Out we just saw Swerve do it. Just out of nowhere, do it, and then that's how the Acclaim went. That's how I feel about the booking at this moment, and I hate it. I truly
and leave us to take more pills than we should, because we're not. Yeah, we're confused.
Good Brothers, very soon to be free agents. WWE, AEW, New Japan. They better stay the hell away from WWE. Straight up, stay away. I don't want to see them.
Yeah.
Boo them as well. No. They could be great if done right. Yeah, that's the key. If done right. So let's just go ahead and grade this on a scale of 1 to. We're going to go with the 10 scale. What do you think? How do you think the build for this show has been? And then give me another grade for how you think the show will deliver.
We got a 4 for how I think the show's been built. I'm going to give it a solid 8 for how I think the show's going to deliver, because AEW's in-ring always delivers.
I think this comment is perfect for right now. That's what Matt is.
Yeah. Hey,
Tyler, what about you, man?
There's not a time I'm not, brother.
I'm going to give it a -3 and hope it gives me to a 5. No, I'm just kidding. That's a little harsh. I'll give it a 3 to a 5. I just wanted to rib Maddie there. So.
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 5 on the build, because, like I said, they've had worse built shows in my opinion. I can't think of the ones off the top of my head, but I know for a fact they've definitely had worse built shows. As far as how it delivers, I don't think 8 is too far off. I'll go 7. I'm not too emotionally invested in too many of them. I think that's going to be the downfall. Kind of like Forbidden Door. I might have given Forbidden Door the show of the year had they got me emotionally invested, but they didn't, so I couldn't.
They lost me when Bryan Danielson wasn't wrestling Zack Sabre Jr.
So Let's see.
Yeah, that hurt because that's the match. Even though Claudio and Sabre did a great job, I mean, everybody was wanting to see Danielson the way Sabre was calling him out.
I was about to say it's still not the match that I've been wanting for the past 8 years.
Forbidden Door 2. Look forward to it. What did I just do there? That didn't work. So here we go. Last subject on the discussion, and yes, you guessed it. It's more AEW. There was rumors swirling around. Then they were crazy. They wanted AEW to be taken down to 1 hour. Then I saw it was 3 hours. Then they were at PG. Then it was
no more blood, no more cursing,
no more cursing, all this other stuff. But it seems that Warner Brothers finally had the communication has finally broken out, and we have learned that it is very possible Warner Brothers has asked them to tone down the language, not cut it out, but tone it back just a bit. Do you think, man, because it definitely seems like AEW relies on it sometimes. They like to do the bitch line a lot just to be like, oh, we're edgy. And just to be fair, I hate it when WWE does it too. I think it's just absolutely childish.
It's WWE's favorite swear
word. It's honestly childish when I hear it. It's like, grow up. Do you think toning it down and having to actually put more thought and effort into constructing things and working around the easy way out is going to help AEW get out of this rut that they're in, or it's going to be more cause for concern based on these very, very rough past 2 weeks they've had?
You go ahead with this one, T.
I think, going by Billy Gunn, they need structure. I mean, seriously, with all kidding aside, if he's acknowledging that they are having problems backstage, that's what they need. I think they're focusing too much on wanting to be silly, and let's be serious. Not with everything, but I'm saying certain segments like you guys were alluding to. To be credible in that alternative that I want to see as a wrestling fan, you still need to prove to me a lot. I know you've only been around, 3 years now?
Yeah.
You got a lot of growing up, a lot of work ahead of you. So start laying down that foundation more heavily, or you're going to lose everybody that's wanted to invest and be engaged in your product.
Before you touch it, man. Hey, Zane, I'm just going by the list I was given. So suck it.
Zane, we did mention Batista. So
yeah. And we talked about Eddie. So shut up, man. You got your
on Tyler's point. I'm so glad that you brought up what Billy Gunn said, because it's a complete contrast to what was said by Matt Hardy earlier this week, and those are two different sides of the story. And I'm totally on the side where they need more structure. You have people like Christian Cage. You have people like Billy Gunn. Jerry Lynn, you've got those Dustin Rhodes, you have those established names that have been around
Daniel
for
Bryan,
so long.
CM
Bryan
Punk.
Danielson, Punk, people, Henry, Show. There are so many people that have been there, done that, with the stick in their hand. People that have been able to dissect people on the microphone. Chris Jericho never had to say fuck or shit in WWE. And he was able to dissect people. There are people there that can teach these guys how to articulate their words and not put so much emphasis on, hey, we got to get the edgy line out. We got to get this out. Call him a bitch, this and that. You've got so much brain power backstage, and you're not using it.
Check them DMs, Tidy. Just to touch on that, I want to revert back to the Hangman conversation real quick, because everyone was on Hangman Page's side here, and after what we just discussed, doesn't it seem like maybe Hangman Page was in the wrong, because he's the one that said, I don't need to take advice from these old timers.
Yeah.
Here Billy Gunn is saying there needs to be some structure here, and people are trying to give these guys tips, and they're like, we know what we're doing. Do they really?
No, they don't. I can answer that quickly.
Mm-hmm.
They should have took the advice. I mean, come on. That's pretty obvious. You've got all the veterans. You guys just talked about it, and you're not listening. What's the old advice that veterans would give rookies or even established guys wanting to be main eventers? Shut up and listen. And we're not seeing it. And that's an issue. I think it goes into booking. It goes into match quality. And we're seeing some of the problematic situations because of immaturity and ignorance on the part of some of these so-called main event stars. You got Tully Blanchard was there. You can't tell me there's not a plethora of knowledge from one of the four horsemen.
Arn Anderson. You had
Arn
two
Anderson.
of the horsemen there.
They have
exactly.
They have 3 generations of past talent that can pull. Because obviously, what worked with Tully and Arn were doing things isn't going to completely work today. But there are aspects to what they have that can help. There are aspects to what Billy Gunn and Malenko and Jericho were doing back in the late 90s, early 2000s that can help. And then you have the Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, Mox. Like, there's these people that they could be pulling from and using to help do this. And it's like, it's not, I don't get it. I really don't. Because if we're looking at the core here, and I'm gonna bring up Cody Rhodes here as well, and I want you guys to tell me if this makes sense to you. When did the TNT title nonsense begin?
After Brody Lee.
Would you say it was after Brody Lee? Because I think Darby had a great run. I think Miro had a great run.
Who took the belt off of Brody?
Cody took it off him, and then Darby took it off Cody.
And then Darby had a good run. No, so yeah, it was right after Miro, because Miro had that phenomenal run where he was trying to elevate the belt.
Sammy took it off Miro. He had a great moment. And then this is the part that is backstage. You don't see it on TV. Cody Rhodes is leaving AEW. Now that TNT title went to shit. You had a guy in Cody Rhodes who has experience, and he's able to book. And the TNT title was one of the best things they booked during their entire existence.
Consistently.
Up until Cody Rhodes left. I think that says a lot. Because the rest of them now is Tony Khan, Chris Jericho. As much as I love him, he is the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. 4 of those people have no idea how to run network shows, a weekly wrestling program. That's not a knock on them. It's not something they've done. They haven't grown in the business with it. They did their stuff, and it's not a knock on them at all. But they need help, and I think we're seeing it now more than ever. And the Cody thing, like I said, I just wanted to pull that in just to really emphasize. You had one guy that knew. He left, and the one consistent thing you had going just fell to shit. So, yeah, Hangman Page, you do need to listen, bud.
And maybe that goes to a lot of the other names backstage.
Maybe not about your ring work, but about how things go. Because we're seeing what's happening now, and it's not – I don't think AEW is in trouble right now, but they're not on the right path. That's not something we were saying last year.
They definitely took a left turn into the woods, but – I will say there are some bright, very bright sparks of light in there, because people like Ricky Starks are going to be able to, hey, what will help with this, or what will, because I feel like Ricky Starks is the type of person to go and ask those veterans, because you can see in his promo work that wasn't there about 2 years ago.
Just to touch on the Ricky Starks thing, he was asked about this a few months ago, and they said, "Who do you go to?" He goes, "I still go to Cody Rhodes." That says a lot.
It does. It speaks of his character, and I'm with you. He's a star, and he's going to be a future champion.
And who's one of the brightest spots in AEW right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, you think about it. Yeah, Ricky Starks has been.
I know this sounds like I'm taking the opportunity to shit on the Bucks and Omega. I promise you, people, that's not what this is.
But
I promise, because I want to.
They deserve. I mean, yeah,
so much.
And Matt Hardy did not help them. If you don't like Kenny Omega or the Young Bucks, you're a fucking idiot. Yeah. That is a quote from Matthew Hardy.
Did he stay in the cooler too long or something?
Dude, a few months ago, I interacted with Matt Hardy, and he was telling me the exact same thing. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Right. To your face, Jim.
No, it was over Twitter. But still, the fact that he's taking the time to reply to someone to tell them they're an idiot for not liking something that it signs his paychecks.
And not only that, Matt Hardy is trying to make something that is completely subjective. Like we can definitely make a subject topic about this. He's trying to make it objective. He's trying to be like, no, if you don't like this, you're wrong. That's totally the wrong way about going about it.
It's going to turn people away.
That is the horrible way about going about that.
So I don't like this one thing, and you think I'm an idiot? All right, well, you don't get any of my viewing. I'm not going to watch anything.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's.
And here's another point too, and don't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead, man.
Tony Khan has become too much of a pushover, and now he wants to put his foot down. See, you've let the kids run your asylum. I mean, come on, that's a lot of the issues now.
And sorry to hop in on that topic, because that was also a rumor that there was a big hoorah speech at this week's Dynamite taping. And you're meaning to tell me that Tony Khan and Kenny Omega yelling at the talent and trying to get them fired up.
Correct you real quick. The only one that was supposedly yelled was Kenny.
Yeah. So you're meaning to tell me that Kenny is yelling at the whole talent and trying to get them fired up. And you got Matt and Nick Jackson behind them going, but you can come to us if you need anything. And then Tony Khan basically going, yeah, everything's on fire right now, but we got to keep it together. If that actually happened, then the step in the wrong direction, they found a path that said, danger, don't enter. And that's where they're heading right now.
So they had Kenny Omega basically saying, get your shit together. They had Tony Khan saying, you're not going to push me over anymore. Then you got the Young Bucks saying, come see us, we'll help you. Who are they going to go see? The worst of this trio. The absolute worst. This is the Young Bucks hate coming out. You don't go to the Young Bucks for help because they're not going to help you. They're all in the... You want to talk about going into business for yourself? Young Bucks. That's the definition of the fucking Young Bucks. Going into business for themselves. You don't believe me? Watch the end of Dynamite. Oh, here we are to confront... Nope.
Man, what the fuck was that?
Shit, man.
We already know what the match is next week.
They don't give a shit. That should not have ended that show.
They just care about themselves.
We see a lot. I'm going to reiterate it every time I see it. WCW. Yes.
I was about to say, Timmy, I was about to say they're heading towards a sign that says New Blood Rising, and I'm not liking it.
Well, and my problem, go ahead. My issue is, though, too, the mixed signals that they're getting the talent backstage, and that's the problem. Egos have always been a thing in wrestling, but it's just prevalent now. I mean, with the Bucks and Omega, I hate to always harp on it myself, but am I going to go to a CM Punk or a Bryan Danielson, or do I want to go to Matt Nick Jackson? Come on.
It depends. Do I want Dave's approval on a 5-star match, or do I want to tell a great story?
Exactly. Well, that's to that point. Yeah. Or am I worried about the observer rating my matches, or do I want quality?
Yeah, this isn't me crapping on Tony either. I don't think, because I've always seen people say that he's very easy to get in touch with and talk to. I think a lot of that stuff is blown up. In no way am I shitting on the communication with Tony Khan. If I'm shitting on anything, it's that Tony Khan just allows these people to kind of just run amok.
Mm-hmm.
Like he even stated on Busted Open earlier this year when they did the debut of Satnam Singh, and he goes, yeah, someone brought up that they should do a lights out, lights on, and I didn't think it was a good idea, but we went ahead with it anyway. Why?
Yeah, if you didn't think it was a good idea,
think it's a good idea, stop it.
Follow your instincts. Yeah, don't
throw someone under the bus just to save your own ass if it didn't happen, and if it did happen, stop it.
And to Tyler's point again, bringing up the Billy Gunn interview, not only was he saying that these guys needed structure, not every match needs to be a WrestleMania main event 5-star classic.
Less is
you
more.
Can totally get away with a 3-star match and then build up to that big climax.
Because people get burnt out.
It's what I've always said. Why am I going to pay $60 to see the same matches that I can watch on Dynamite?
And I also saw another thing with that 6-man match at the end of the show. The opening segment where they just have this phenomenal display of athleticism. If I hadn't seen that the entirety of the Battle of the Super Juniors, every show on Dynamite or Rampage or even on Dark. Like if you go watch a Dante Martin match on Dark, he is showing massive amounts of athleticism. There is no reason for every match for you to be throwing your body to the wind.
No.
Like Jeff Hardy in a TLC match.
Yeah. And just to touch on what Dave, the screaming was an exaggeration 100%, but he was the one that was the loudest in the meeting from the reports I have seen. So I know that that is a report that is out there. And I'm pretty sure I saw it from Fightful, that he was the one giving tough love and being the loudest in the room during this meeting, which kind of sends mixed signals, because if you go back and watch that speech he gave after Dynamite the night he returned, he was kind of throwing some people under the bus. So you're throwing people under the bus one week, and then the next week you're trying to say, rah, rah, ree, let's go. And if you don't like it, get in line. Like,
no wonder people don't understand. I mean, because, to your point, 1 week's different than the other. Make up your mind. I mean, at least be consistent with your rhetoric.
Quite a few injuries because of the way they wrestle. Like, I love the way they wrestle. Point, David. But I don't.
There's a lot of injuries in AEW right now. A lot. And like David said, there's quite a few in WWE right now as well. Injuries happen, but if you are doing it if you're doing your matches at the rate that these talent are in AEW, that risk of injury is astronomical.
At the risk of sounding like a WWE mark here, I know it's going to sound like it, but if you're looking at the long matches in WWE and the long matches in AEW, is there a significant difference in the pacing of those matches?
Yes.
So which one do you favor?
The WWE style.
So I honestly don't want to hear any shit on the fact that WWE, because before it was like their matches aren't long enough. And, I always defended it. I was like, you don't want to have long matches all the time. But if we're going to get long matches, at least they're drawn out and they're built up, and it's not wham, bam, balls to the wall from the moment that bell rings to the moment the bell rings again.
I think the perfect example of what you're explaining, Jimmy, is Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns, last man standing, Royal Rumble, I believe, during the pandemic. Aside from the botch with Paul Heyman and the handcuffs, that match was absolutely masterfully crafted. From beginning to middle to end, it was a story all throughout.
I'll go to one more recent, since we're on the topic of this. It happened last week? AJ Styles versus Bobby Lashley.
Yes.
It was a long match.
Oh, great match.
It was great, though, because the pacing built. It wasn't ding, 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 fucking go. Ding, 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 done. It was, okay, let's get there. Climax, match is over. Wonderful.
And I love Claudio Castagnoli. I love Cesaro. Not every single one of his matches need to start off with that charging European uppercut anymore.
It takes away from this appeal of it. That's on Claudio. Yeah. I put that completely on Claudio.
It's got to be special, because if people are used to you oversaturating with anything, it's going to get tiring.
All right, so we've reached the algorithm's boiling point. One last question, just make it as quick as you possibly can. Title, obviously, can AEW rebound? What do you think, Maddie? Do you think they can rebound, and how soon do you think they can?
This, at the end of the day, is a business. Everything bounces back eventually. And if it doesn't, the signs start to get drastically worse. I say give it one more year. One more year, and we'll ask this question again, because after that full year, come next year's Full Gear, or next year's All Out, we should be able to tell whether AEW is worth sticking around or if it's just going to crash and burn. I wholeheartedly believe AEW can pull back. AEW has the talent and they have the brain power backstage to do so. If Tony Khan and the Elite will let some of those worms into their ear, then the product is going to get better. And in the long run, AEW is going to start building more of an audience, because I don't like to talk viewers a lot, but they have kind of fell at that point.
Maybe.
Here and there they'll jump up, but they've got their dedicated audience. They have not necessarily expanded too far.
My only issue with bringing in ratings is I think YouTube TV has become more prevalent over the past year, or since AEW started. I think it's become more prevalent. It doesn't tie in to Nielsen ratings.
100%.
You have the TNT, TBS apps. They don't tie into Nielsen ratings. You have people who illegally watch this stuff. And I know people are like, well, that shouldn't count then. It does, because they're still fans of the product.
Yeah, they're still watching it, whether or not they can't pay or not.
Fans to watch the show. They still have fans. So the ratings thing is always like it's always like, I get it to an extent, but you can't harp on it too much.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to put that in there. Tyler, what about you?
I think they'll rebound. The problem is, to Matt's point, I don't see Kenny and the Bucks listening. So that's still going to be some problems. And I'm not just harping on them. There's a lot of that. We've heard of Cabana, that whole issue. I mean, that's the thing. There's a lot of maturity that needs to happen. I think they'll be fine. They've got the talent. They've got good storylines if they'll lay them out correctly. But until that gets fixed, we're going to see a bunch of just disheartening things still to come out. And that's going to be the only thing I see. They'll rebound, but at what cost?
Yeah. So David saying the following also coincide with Kenny when he went away last fall. Maybe he's more of a glue than it seems. That's possible. He might be the one that puts the Bucks in check.
The only thing is though, he is currently held together by glue himself.
But I'm giving them 6 months. And I know that sounds harsh, but I've been down this road before because WCW was my bread and butter. I loved it. I loved it to death. And in hindsight, you can go back and you could watch it literally. Some people saw it when it's happening. I had blinders on 100%. I go back, you could clearly see the wheels falling off week by week by week by week. And the same issues we're hearing about now are the same issues that they were dealing with in WCW during its demise. Hopefully they can learn from those mistakes. Tony Khan's, he prides himself on being a historian, so maybe he can go back, look at that and say, okay, correct some things and they get back on track. I hope so. I really do. There's so much talent in AEW that I want to see shine, and I know they're not going to get the shine anywhere else. I just know it. So I want this to succeed. I truly do. Please, Tony, fix the shit, man. I'm begging you, please. So that's the show. Anybody want to plug anything before we say our goodbyes and our toodles? Because I know the captain loves that word so much.
Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, I've got to plug the Rewind Wrestling Radio podcast, and also got to plug the Uncensored Wrestling podcast. We're recapping the Attitude Years, and there's so many. I'm probably going to forget somebody, so pardon me. And of course, this great podcast, whether I'm on it or not, you guys do a tremendous job. So thank you again. It's an honor to be on here.
Maddie?
All right. So there's Meet the Wrestle Buddies on the channel. There's the Quiz Buddies on the channel. You guys can catch Jimmy on all of his recaps. You can catch me elsewhere. You can catch Jimmy elsewhere. Follow the website, follow the channel, and this is about the time where I tell y'all to stay safe, stay healthy, and stay hydrated.
And since Maddie told you to watch the recaps, I'm going to tell you as well, watch the recaps. I really appreciate it. Jump in the chat. I enjoy the back and forth with people. It makes the show go by quicker for me, and also it just more enjoyable. I don't like to talk to myself. I don't like hearing myself. Well, I'm going to hear myself talk anyway. But if I'm talking, which you're talking with me, and we're having a conversation, I enjoy it so much more. So make sure you join in for those. And every once in a while, you get to join one of the Dynamites where you get to see me just absolutely crushed. Hopefully we don't get too many more of those in the near future because I can't deal with them. But
I think we need to get that picture of you just dumbstruck as like the Wrestle Buddy background picture. So anytime we have
that's not
your
what
heart's broken.
Represent. I'm supposed to be positivity and happy all the time. I love wrestling. That is the exact opposite of what I want to feel. Also, we got Buddy Wars. I believe it's coming back tomorrow, and I believe it is Dan taking on the Capitan.
I don't think it's happening this week. It'll be happening next week as Brandon is on the road.
Okay, so that's not happening, but stay tuned for that. And if you didn't watch last week's, go ahead and do it. And if you didn't watch me smack Zane completely all over the place, you can go back and watch that one too. It was
two very good episodes. It was very good content.
And this Wednesday, check for me on the regularly scheduled hostilities because it will be another bloodbath when I have been invited to defend the honor of none other than CM Punk. He made the mistake of giving me a week to prepare for this. It's not going to be pretty.
You had a whole week to write an essay as to why you love Punk.
I'm looking forward to that.
Defend CM Punk. Why the top? I won't just draw. Is he a draw? Is he overrated? Does he still have it? There's other things sprinkled in there, buddy. They ain't ready for it.
It's regular scheduled hostilities. It's going to be worth the watch and a listen.
So
it's a great show
on Wednesday. Even if you don't, David, I know you don't like him that much, but if you want to see me rip someone a new one on CM Punk, make sure you tune in just for that. I'll also be doing the predictions for that. I don't agree with all their opinions, but they are good dudes. I enjoy them very much.
They are.
Their opinions, I understand why some people don't like the opinions, but we all have opinions. It is what it is. I'll be doing the predictions, and we will also be doing predictions for WrestleBuddy this week, I believe, on Wednesday.
Yep. So not only that,
all up on the YouTube on Wednesday.
We forgot to plug that next week's going to be a massive week for us as well.
So we got the Clash of the Castle predictions Wednesday. I believe the All Out predictions and
Thursday.
Wave on Thursday. We got the watch-alongs for All Out and Clash of the Castle, I believe. If you can't watch the show live, if you can't watch Clash or All Out live, myself and the Invisible Hand, the hardest working man in the business, not me, Invisible Hand, Alex, will be giving you up-to-date matches on the WrestleBuddy website, so check that out.
And wish me luck.
And David, like I said, at least tune in to see me rip someone a new one, because we're on CM Punk, and you know I don't take this shit lightly, son. If you don't think so, you should watch the recap again. You saw how much I was crushed. I'm not getting crushed this week. I'm doing the crushing. So tune in, baby. That's the show. Thank you all for watching. Algorithm is going wild right now. I apologize, YouTube. That's the show. So we say goodbye. And
bye.
Good time.
See you guys.
Where did it go? He done. Just closing the show. There is no outro.